Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment that is being distributed here as I speak is known in the last Farm Bill as the King Amendment, but I prefer to call it the Protect Interstate Commerce Amendment. And what it does is it recognizes that we have multiple states across the country now. Those states have grown since the last time we marked up a farm bill. There were really only a couple of them at the time that had passed regulations that regulated the means of production of common agriculture products in other states. And the result of that is, for example, California's cage size regulations, and we have inspectors from California that are now traveling around Iowa with their tape measures and measuring the cage sizes of our laying hens in Iowa. We have states that have prohibited gestation crates. They can do that within their states, but they prohibit the importation into their state of meat that is produced in a fashion that they disapprove. And that goes on with stalls for veal calves and the prohibition to feeding ducks and geese for foie gras liver and a number of other things, and it's getting worse. And so this is something that came to me about 8 years ago, that it's a violation of the Commerce Clause of our Constitution. It is an enumerated power that exclusively reserves to Congress the authority to regulate interstate commerce. And the states are free to regulate intrastate commerce. We don't interfere with any of the state laws that regulate within their state boundaries. But we do say that if you want a regulation that goes outside those state boundaries, then you have to come to Congress to do that. And our founding fathers wanted to see a free trade zone between the original 13 colonies because they knew that states would put up trade barriers and put tariffs on at the state lines if they did not have the Commerce Clause in the Constitution. And so they drafted in our Constitution the Commerce Clause to prohibit trade wars between the states. Now, I've been a strong proponent of free trade. Most of the countries that we negotiated bilateral trade agreements with to promote free trade. And when I go to them now, we're vulnerable to this accusation. You don't have free trade between your own states. How can you call for free trade between the nation states of a bilateral trade agreement? And so with this amendment, we do restore free trade between the states, and we preempt some really bad things that are coming down the pike. As I said last time this was a case about 4 years ago, it'll be worse if we don't do this now. I actually thought it would be a little worse than it is right now, but it is getting worse. And there are at least 2 different lawsuits that have been filed to address this thing through litigation. But there's also been the problem of decisions made at the lower courts denying standing for some of the entities. And now there are, I believe, two states that have filed suits that they want to bring directly to the Supreme Court. But the bottom line really is this, that we can't let every state decide what's going to go on in all the other states or refuse to accept their products. And so this is a very clean restoration of the Commerce Clause of our Constitution. It passed out of this committee by voice vote last time, and the only places that I'm finding opposition from this are states that are trying to regulate other states from within their state boundaries. And so I just urge its adoption, and I would yield back the balance of my time.